I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 7, so today we'll be doing our grade 7 lesson on apostrophes, right? And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we have logged on to aplusstudents.ca with the username as well as our password, we're doing grade 7. And the lesson that we are focusing on today is to identify the errors, or the chapter is apostrophes. All right, so our chapter is apostrophes. Our subject is English language arts, grade 7. And the lessons that we are focusing on is to identifying correct errors with plural and possessive nouns. All right, so we are doing apostrophes, right? And we said an apostrophe, so we can add an apostrophe as well as s to a single noun to make a possessive noun. And in order for us to make a possessive noun, right, possessive nouns shows either that you are owning something or that you have something or something belongs to you, right? All right. So when it comes to, let's say, apostrophes, right? Then we must add an apostrophe. We add an apostrophe as well as is to a singular noun to make it a possessive noun, right? And if we look at an example of that, right? And if we look at our example, right, it says matte gloves, right? So now we need to say who the gloves belong to. So who does the gloves belong to? So the gloves belongs to Matt, right? So if the gloves belongs to Matt, then we can say it is Matt's glasses. All right. So when we look at the word Matt, right? Because Matt is a, let's say, a singular noun, right? So Matt being a singular noun, we will then not just say Matt's gloves, we will say Matt's gloves. And they show an apostrophe to show how the apostrophe and an S was added. So Matt's gloves. If we want to talk about the wings of the bird, remember we said when it comes to apostrophes, right? And words that shows position, then we can say the words that show position, it's words, especially nouns, right? It tells us it's either that someone owns something or someone has something. All right. So once again, we said an apostrophe as well as is. We add an apostrophe and is to a singular noun and we make it a possessive noun by either adding an is or removing the is. And the same with the bird. We have this bird. All right. So we said that with our noun, we need to add an apostrophe, whether it is apostrophe and then is, and we will later find out how we can just add an apostrophe. And if we look at, let's say, when a plural noun ends with an S, right? Because remember, we first have a singular noun, which refers to either one person, animal, or thing, right? That makes a possessive noun. But now, if we have, let's say, a plural noun, right? And the plural noun, if the plural noun ends in an S, then we're gonna have to just add an apostrophe to make it a possessive noun, which means that we will add the apostrophe after that specific word. All right. So we say that when a plural noun ends with an is, and we will find out now how we mean by if plural noun ends with an is. And then we only add an apostrophe, no is, nothing. And if we make mention of, let's say, more than one boy, right, that is doing something, and then we can say, for example, if they say the boys is camp, for example, and that is where we only add an apostrophe. And did you see where we add the apostrophe? We add the apostrophe behind those words. So you have your full words, boys, for example, and then we will add an apostrophe only after that word. We will add the apostrophe to show that it is a plural noun that we had used to basically, it's like us finding now where the specific spices are. Sorry, the boys is where we put the apostrophe, sorry. Because boys is a plural noun and it refers to more than one boy, let's say going to a camp, right? And if we're talking about the boys as camps, and then we are talking about the fact that it's not just one boy, but it is more than one boy who's going on that camp. And that is why we have the boys as camp as well as the school's team, right? And the school's team, which means that we are making mention of more than one school, not just one's school. So it's like the teams, it's like the schools and the teams that is competing against one another, right? And that is why we say the school's team. And that is only if the plural noun ends with an is, right? If they're showing more than, but that word ends with an is. Then we add the apostrophe last. All right. And then also, right, we have a plural that ends with an s that refers to more than one person doing something. And then we have a plural noun that does not end with an s. Think of an, let's say, a word. So let's think of the plural form of something. Let's say maybe the plural of child. And if we have our plural noun, right, that shows position, but it does not end with an is, right, then we can maybe say, let's say, words like children, right? Let's say child is one word, and the plural form of child is children. A singular word is man, and a plural word is men. All right. So if we look at these words like children and men, right? Children does not end with an S, which means that we will have an apostrophe and an S if we were to make reference of children, as well as by men, we will have an apostrophe and an S to put reference on that word if the need comes, right? So, but if the word had to end with an S, and then we only would have put the apostrophe only, not with the S, because the S is already there at the end of the word or the last letter of that word. All right, so we are now going to aplusstudents.ca, where we are going to identify and correct errors with plural and possessive nouns. So we will be adding apostrophes and an apostrophe that we can add with S to a singular noun, and we can make that a possessive noun. And remember, possessive noun shows either where where you even have something or you own something. That shows possession. You either have something or you own something, or something belongs to you. It's like it's Nadine's camera. It is Jane's ball. It is Adam's bag, right? All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca. And we see that our chapter is apostrophes. And our lesson that we're going to be focusing on is to identifying correct areas with plural and possessive nouns. All right, so that is going to be a lesson where we're going to identify and correct areas with plural and possessive nouns. All right, so we see that when it comes to apostrophes or when it comes to possessive nouns as well as plural nouns, then we can add, or let's say, firstly, a plural noun, it names more than one person, place, or thing, right? And when we say it names more than one, right? Person, more than one place, more than one thing. And a plural noun, it just ends with an S, only an S, because then it will show that there's more than one of that we are talking about. All right. So we mentioned that with plural nouns, it's like basically just showing that there's more than one person, more than one place, or more than one thing. It's like saying just more than one thing, right? And a possessive noun, here we're coming to what a possessive noun is, right? So a possessive noun, it shows us either who, or it shows what something has, or something has been. All right, so if we look at the first one once again, it says add an apostrophe as well as is to a singular noun to make it possible, to make it possessive noun. All right. So we then said that when, for example, right, we have an apostrophe. Remember, most of our words is apostrophe as well as an is. But if it's in a case where, let's say, the word comes across as being, um, let's say, possessive or position, all right. And yeah, we made a few examples, and we also made an example earlier on Matt's gloves. This means that it shows that it belongs to Matt. So Matt's glove, just to show that Matt owns the gloves, right? It means that it is a possessive noun. And then we have the next one that says the bird's wing, which means that there's maybe something wrong with the wings of the birds, right? So we can say that the bird's wings, which is an apostrophe as well as an S. All right. And then we added an apostrophe and our S as well as over here, apostrophe and S. And when the plural noun ends with an S, right? So let's say, for example, we have words like boys and girls and schools, right? And then that is when the noun then becomes plural, right? Because boys, girls, noun, schools, right? It's if we just add an S, then it means that it refers to it being more than one. It is now basically um, a plural form, right? And we can then say the plural, if the plural ends with an S, like for example, if we're talking about the camp that the boys are on, then we can say it is the boys' camp. All right. And then we can say that even here with the schools, right? And then we say the schools as teams because now we're making mention of more than one school, right? And we're talking about more than one team. So now we're going to our test where we're going to identify incorrect errors with plural and possessive nouns. And remember, possessive nouns, it either shows who owns something or who has something, right? It is Jack's, it is the birds, it is the children's, it is the gardeners, it is the schools, right? That shows possessive. It's a possessive noun. But then we have the plural noun, and the plural noun is where we only add the s without the apostrophe, and that just shows that there's more than one of them. All right, so now we're going to find the plural or the possessive error within that sentence. We're going to have to select it and type it correctly. So we need to choose one. We need to either choose option A or option B. It says do we say option one, dandelions, or fields of option two, dandelions or dandelions, lined the highway between our town and the coast. The flowers is round white seed, heads bobbed in the gentle breeze. We need to choose the correct word, either option one with an apostrophe or option two as a plural form. We need to choose the correct answer. Fields of option one, dandelions, or option two, dandelions. So is it option one or option two? Which one is the correct one? Fields of dandelions. All right, so we will say option two, right? Fields of dandelions lined the highway between our town and the coast. The flowers is round, white seed heads bobbed in a gentle breeze. So we go with the second option, which is a plural. It's plural. Just shows that there's more than one of those. All right, so now we're going to have to find the plural error or the possessive error within that sentence, right? It says, have you had lunch at the Peasant Hill Diner? The option one, restaurants, or option two, restaurants menu features several fantastic salads, including one with fresh tuna and peaches. So we say the restaurants or the restaurants, as in the word, the apostrophe comes after the word, or the apostrophe comes before the S. So we need to choose the correct one. Do we say the restaurant's menu? Let's try option two. Apostrophe and is. Ah, and it is correct. Option two, because we are making mention of one restaurant and it's diner. All right, so we need to find the plural or possessive era. So do we say before highways were built and automobiles were widely available, a traveler's main transportation option were horse-driven coach and railway. We need to choose the correct possessive era or plural era. So now we need to choose the correct era. Do we say before highways were built and automobiles were widely available for travelers' main transportation? All right, so then we will choose option two. So we say before the highways were built, which is more than one. Oh, before the highways were built. It's still a bit confused there, but okay. We went with option one, right? So I apologize for that mistake. Let's go to the next one. It says that we need to find the plural well as the possessive noun. So we can then say either Brian's thoughts, which is Brian's with an apostrophe only, or we can put the apostrophe in S on second option. Brian's thoughts wandered from his grocery list to some concerns he had with his career, or we can say Brian's thoughts wandered from his grocery list to some concerns he had about his career. All right, and if we were to choose the correct one, then we can say Brian's thoughts wandered from his grocery list to some concerns he had about his career. And let's go with second option because it's the thoughts. Brian is having the thoughts, right? So Brian is having the thought. All right. And then we need to find the plural or possessive error within the sentence. It says, unlike the woodpeckers, Alabama's state, unlike most woodpeckers, Alabama's state bird, the yellow hammer woodpecker doesn't have the strength to draw into most trees, so it usually searches for food along the ground. So do we say it's option one, which is woodpeckers with an apostrophe S, as well as Alabama's, or is it woodpeckers just with the S to show it's plural? All right, then if we were to choose the correct one, then we will say, unlike most woodpeckers, it's like, no, like a Rudy the woodpecker. So one woodpecker, more than one woodpeckers. So unlike most woodpeckers, Alabama's state bird, yellow hammer woodpecker, doesn't have the strength to drill into most trees, so it usually searches for food along the ground. So the second option is correct because it shows plural, right? It shows that there's more than one woodpecker. Not emphasis on it's not what the woodpecker does specifically. We need to find the plural or possessive error. All right, so it says that the American Civil War's last land battle of the Battle of Palmito Ranch occurred on the banks of Rio de Grande in Texas. So we can say the American Civil War's last land battle, the Battle of Palmito Range, occurred on the banks of the Rio Grande in Texas. And if we were to choose the correct one, right, we either find if it's a plural or we need to find if it's a possessive error. The word banks, if we look at the word banks, right, so not wars, we're looking at the word banks. So do we say it occurred on the banks of the Rio Grande or the banks of the Rio Grande? Option one without the apostrophe, which is just the plural, or option two with an apostrophe. And if we were to choose the correct one, we will say it is option, it's the banks, which is more than one bank of the Rio Grande. All right, now we're also going to have to find the plural of error within the sentence. Remember, plural means that there's more than one, either person, place, or animal or thing, and the possession shows either who owns something or who has something, right? It says cactus or cacti. Do we say it's cacti or cactus? So the cactus's shape shapes and sizes can vary significantly. Some species they grow no wider than half an inch, while others can grow up to 60 feet tall. So, do we say option one, it's cactus within apostrophe S, or do we say cactus with an apostrophe only, which shows that there's more than one of the cactuses? So option one, is it apostrophe and an S because we are making mention of one cactus? Or it's option two, we are talking about more than one cactus. All right, and if we were to choose the correct one, we would then say option two, right? Because we are saying that the cactus, the shapes, we're referring to more than one cactus, right? So we're talking about their shapes, right? So we are referring to the cactus's shapes, but they are more than one cactus, and we are making mention of their shapes and their sizes. Mm. Ah, so it's actually one cactus. I apologize for that one. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on apostrophes, right? So we say that when it comes to apostrophes, and then we either add an apostrophe and an S to a word that refers to it being either a singular noun, right? That it shows that it shows that something either belongs to someone, or it shows that the person has something, or they possess something, right? So now it means that we add an apostrophe and an S to show that you own something or you have something. Or we only add an S to a word to show the plural form of it, right? And when we add apostrophes, we add an apostrophe and an S to show a singular word or singular noun that owns something, or if there's more than one of that something that ends in an S, we then only put the apostrophe at the end, no S. All right, so this is the end of our lesson on apostrophes. Thank you very much, grade sevens, for joining the class. And I really hope that you are going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.